Good morning and welcome to Monday the 18th of May and the Daily Freakout. My name is Bobby Freakout and welcome, as I said just a second ago, to the show. Today we've got a bunch of stuff to talk about. Unfortunately, it's become all very, very political. I did want to add one other humorous story, so let me quickly see if I can pop that in the rotation. We might have to do it a slightly different way. We've got an absolutely absurd record of the week. Jolly Dr. Dollywell. You cannot imagine what that record is just by looking at it. It feels, as I was listening to it for the first time yesterday, it's a dog scratching themselves, tapping on the thing. Can you stop that down there? Thank you. Every now and again I'll be sitting here at home and I'll just hear dun, 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 and it's a dog sitting too close to a wall or a door or something, in this case underneath the desk, and they're scratching themselves and they're tapping away. Anyway, listening yesterday to Jolly Dr. Dollywell's record, and I was blown away because of how absolutely insane it is. It's a crazy little record. It's a record to try and help young kids understand general hygiene and wellness and all that kind of stuff, but it's done in the pretense of a young child bringing their dolly to the doctor and the doctor trying to help the dolly, but treating the dolly as though the dolly is a human. And it just gets a bit weird and a bit strange. And so we'll hear a little bit of that later, and then we'll hear lots more of that throughout the week because it's phenomenal. And again, it's one of those records, I'm not entirely sure how it got into my collection. I know when I was leafing through whatever the collection that I got given was, I was leafing through and I saw it and I thought, you know what, I bet at some point I could use that for samples and things. And yeah, there's some crazy fun stuff on there, and we'll see how it goes. It's going to be good. We've got, as I said, a bunch of pretty serious stuff to talk about today, unfortunately. Nothing too light-hearted or anything, and so let's start straight away with the one that's on my iPad already. US, China, Russia prefer a divided Europe, Callas warns. The EU's top diplomat said foreign powers dislike the bloc because it's stronger when it acts collectively, and cautioned member countries against cutting their own deals. The thing that gets me about this one is the same thing that sort of gets me about all of these. I wish that was a smoother transition, but what you going to do? It's the thing that gets me about all of these, which is, I fully agree with that headline and with the rest of the article. They don't like the European Union. That's very clear, Callas said at the Lennart Meri conference. But we need to understand that why they don't like the EU. They don't like the European Union, but we need to understand why they don't like the EU, why China doesn't like the EU, why Russia doesn't. It is because if we stick together, if we operate together, then we are equal powers. We are strong. And that is obvious, I think. I think that's obvious. That Europe collectively is a stronger entity and stuff like that. But the thing that gets me about this kind of stuff, and it's similar to some of the other articles we're going to talk about, these countries that have this immense power, Russia, China, and now the United States, unfortunately, how have they managed to get this big power? Why is it that a whole heap of smaller countries who are not interested in taking over the world, which is what these other countries seem to be, so like if you looked at Europe as a country of its own, you don't hear about anyone in any countries in Europe trying to take more land and take countries. Whereas if you look at Russia, they're trying to take Ukraine. If you look at China, they're trying, or they want to take Taiwan. They haven't done it yet, but they want to. And they've done it with Tibet and some other places and stuff. You look at the United States, and Donald Trump has been claiming, we're going to take Venezuela, we're going to take Greenland, blah, blah, blah. And it's this whole thing of, have these guys all gotten together and established that the best way to, I don't know whether it's keep their population down or stay in power, is to create these fake wars under the pretense of we need land or we need to take these other countries because they're better off? It's a very strange thing. And again, I don't know too much about World War II. I know a bit, but not too much. Was this Hitler's idea when he was taking Poland? And then when he started spreading out was, Germany should be in charge of everything. We're going to take all this land. I don't understand where that attitude comes from world leaders, certain world leaders, because it doesn't seem to pay off well for anyone. It just turns everything into a quagmire of endless wars and all this kind of stuff. And so now that Europe can't trust the United States as an ally, because the United States is doing the same shit that China and Russia are doing, they really do. Europe really does need to say, we're together on this. You can't do this anymore. Stop it. And unfortunately, that then pulls Australia in as my country, because we're part of the Commonwealth and we have strong ties to Europe. I mean, we're in Eurovision, for God's sake. Don't even get me started. And where do we land? Do we land with the US, who apparently we have ties with, or do we land with Europe, where apparently we have ties? What the hell do we do as a island nation? I'm thinking of Canada, I'm thinking of New Zealand, I'm thinking of all the Japan, all the other island nations, and then even Africa, the countries in Africa that don't seem to be quite as involved in this kind of stuff, but it's still relevant to them too, because Europe's on their door. So what do you do? Because the world seems to have always just been people with power wanting more power and taking things over. And it's so worrying as somewhat of a pacifist myself. It is so worrying to see. So let me know, what can we do? What can we do as just normal people to try and not have this kind of war situation happening all the time? And speaking of war, unfortunately, there are wars happening out there and around the world. Zelensky confirms Ukraine was behind massive Moscow drone strike. You can see it in the picture right there. I don't know who took that picture or anything like that, but only just recently, just yesterday, that's what happened. President Zelensky confirmed the Ukraine long-range drones carried out overnight strikes against Moscow and surrounding region on May 17th, describing the operation as a response to the continued Russian attacks on Ukraine's cities and infrastructure. The war in Ukraine, as many other much better or proper journalists and stuff will constantly remind everyone, this is a 3-year war that was meant to be a weekend. The claim was, we're going to go in, we're going to do this, and then everything will be sorted and fine. And it turns out that Russia's war is just going on and on and on. And it's just so debilitating and disturbing that this continues to happen. This is the problem with what I was talking about, that Russia under Putin has decided that this is what is going to happen. We're going to just take another country, and that country is fighting and saying, no, you can't do that. And this is what's always happened. This is Alexander the Great. This is the English Empire. This is Genghis Khan. This is just always happening. And it's so very, very frustrating from my perspective, because, again, I don't want to take anyone's land. I don't understand that mentality. That's not my thing. I don't understand how these people want to try and do that. I understand the Ukrainian side, or the Palestinian side, or the Taiwanese side, or any of this kind of stuff, where I think, no, leave us alone. Piss off. We'll work on our stuff. We don't need you coming in here and doing stuff. Apparently this was a huge attack. 600 drones apparently swarmed a bunch of oil refineries. A fuel depot. Moscow oil refinery, a fuel depot, and enterprises linked to microelectronics production. And so that's one of the things that, again, this is why I'm on the Ukrainian side, because they're attacking infrastructure. They're attacking buildings. Now, yes, some people probably died. Some people were probably there at the time or whatever, but they're attacking infrastructure. They're not attacking direct homes or anything like that. And so that's where I morally go with the defenders. You right down there? Just making more weird noises. And so what do you do? I don't know what to do. I don't know what we can do. I don't know how we do what we can do, all that kind of stuff. What I do know is that we can listen to a little bit of Dr. Dolly, Jolly Dr. Dollywell. Trust me, you are not ready for this. Oops. Here we go. Have a little listen to this. If it works. Oh, of course it's not. Of course there is something. Oh, this is so... I am the most professional DJ / person you can possibly imagine. Because I have, in the process of trying to experiment with life and with different things, I've unplugged something and then plugged it in somewhere else. And did I just plug it in the right one? No, I plugged it in the wrong one.
Dollywell,
there we go.
My name is on the door. I try to keep your dollies well. That's what a doctor's for. Dollies are such precious things, and everybody loves them so. Dollies mamas have to learn what every mama ought to know. Come in. What can I do to help you, ma'am?
It's Dolly, Doctor. She has lots of spots. I'm not sure what they are.
Well, no, I'll just wash my hands with running water under the faucet, ma'am, and then I'll see. Before I examine a dolly, ma'am, I wash my hands thoroughly. 'Cause soap and water wash away germs too small for your eyes to see.
I've heard about germs. They can make you sick.
Germs can do a lot of harm. Keeping hands clean helps to keep germs away. No.
So that's a little bit of Jolly Dr. Dollywell today, or this week's record of the week. Later in the week, we will be joined by the dentist character, who obviously is a horse with nice big teeth. It's, as I said, it's trying to teach kids about being clean and looking after themselves, and there's just a strange amount of reverb and a strange old school weirdness to it, and we'll get there eventually. A little taster though for what we might listen to, or a song from tomorrow.
Let's have a look at Dolly's hand.
I covered the burn just like you said. I used a handkerchief.
You really should have a Dolly first aid kit, ma'am. That handkerchief's not too clean. There, Dolly. Though it's a little burn, I know it hurts a lot. Now I'll clean it with this. There. And this...
As I said, it's got a weird vibe to it, especially in the context of the 21st century. It's very strange. Do you want to come up, do you? Do you want to come up? No? Okay, you want to go out. Fair enough. Off you go. It's great when the dog comes up halfway in and it's off camera and it doesn't make sense. I went to bed early last night, and it meant that I woke up early, and I'm talking hours and hours early. So I got up and I did a few things, and then I went back to bed, and then I woke up late. And so I'm disheveled and all over the place. And this is going to be one of the worst live stream podcasts that I've ever done. And that's saying a lot, because I pardon me, have done some absolute stinkers. Pam Grier says she has orgasms that last 3 whole days at age 76. Need to know. Pam Grier appeared on Julie Louis-Dreyfus's interview podcast Wiser Than Me. Asked about feeling young, the coffee star said, "When you get to my age, you have 1 orgasm, it'll last 3 days." Grier compared the experience to her youth when she said she could have 3 or 4 orgasms in an hour. The female orgasm, or at least the Pam Grier orgasm, must be incredibly different to the kinds of orgasms I'm having. Because, first of all, I would not want an orgasm to last 3, 4, or 5 hours. Sorry, 3 or 4 5 orgasms in an hour. That would just be way too draining. I don't want 3 or 4 or 5 in 1 whole hour. They don't seem special, if you know what I mean. I don't think that's, you know what I mean? And to have one that lasts 3 whole days, like, what is she really talking about here? She's not talking about an actual climax, is she? Or is she just talking about a general horniness, like a high horniness? Because I can understand high horniness. We've all been there. But that's from a male perspective where I just have an orgasm and then the horniness goes away and then it builds up again until you have another orgasm, then it goes away. What's the difference? Ladies, please help me out here. I've been witness to a few female orgasms, but I haven't been in the head of anyone. I don't really know what's going on in the female body and everything for an orgasm. It just... What are you talking about? Exclaimed the host. What are you going down there to get a 3-day orgasm? I need details. What are you doing down there to get a 3-day orgasm? You don't have to do anything, but when it happens, I just want to tell you, just be prepared. So she's not going to give us any details. And it's hilarious that is the entire article, really, is that one link. I do enjoy articles that are literally, I've taken one little clip out of a podcast and I'm going to write an entire supposed article on it, and it's just ads on the website. But that's what we had in the old magazines, wasn't it? So People magazine, which is where this article or this is come from, the article, it's the same content that was in the magazines back in the day. It was nothing filled with ads. Last August, on an episode of the Allison Interviews podcast, Greer described herself as horny as fuck and revealed she's in a cosmic relationship with an unnamed man. You hear about when people find their person. It's a warm, fuzzy feeling. I can't believe it happened now. When I've got things to do. Don't mess up my plans. So yeah, she's been through a lot apparently. And Julia's podcast, Wiser Than Me, airs new episodes on Wednesdays for anyone who wants to listen to more of that. But I don't think she's having the same kind of orgasms that I am. So, ladies, please, in the comments, let me know, what's a female orgasm like that's so different? As I said, from a male perspective, it's orgasm, horniness goes way down to nothing, and then it slowly builds up. And whether you're young, it probably builds up very quickly, in a few hours maybe, or a day. And at my age, it's definitely at least 24 hours. And then maybe you get horny again, and then you move on from there. I don't understand how she's 76 and this is happening to her. My assumption for male horniness has been that the older you get, the less it gets. That makes sense. And I assumed it was similar. I know that women apparently reach their sexual peak in the 30s and then have a flush and everything with menopause and stuff, but I've got no idea. So I need help. Please let me know. Because that's just crazy talk, isn't it? Isn't that just crazy talk? I think it's crazy talk.
Tractor systems are offline.
Number 1 for today's hits and all-time favorites.
And now the last article / thing to talk about is some more war, and it's Russia again. Russia says it's establishing full partnership with Afghan Taliban. Now, again, I haven't, as I am often prone to do, I have not gone through the article quite well enough. But it says here, based from Reuters, Russia is establishing a fully fledged partnership with Afghanistan ruling Taliban and with Afghanistan's ruling Taliban, and is encouraging other countries in the region to expand cooperation with Kabul. A senior Russian Secretary of Security official was quoted on Thursday as saying, now, the reason I find this so interesting is that if you've ever seen Rambo, is it Rambo? Rambo 1 or 2 or 3. Rambo 2 or 3. I can't remember exactly which one. He goes to Afghanistan and he fights the Russians because the bad guys are in those the bad guys in that movie are the Russians. It appears to be number 3, I believe. The film depicts fictional events during the Soviet-Afghanistan War. In the film, Rambo sets out on a dangerous journey to the Democratic Republic of Afghanistan in order to rescue his former commander and his longtime best friend, Colonel Trotman. Blah, 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 blah. So, at one stage, the Russians were in Afghanistan having a long, elongated war. I honestly don't know why they were there. I don't know what the cause of it was, the Soviet-Afghan War. Actually, let me use AI here. I don't like AI, but sometimes it works. Can you not? Oi! Dogs. So professional. The Soviet-Afghan War was a decade-long proxy conflict during the Cold War in which the Soviet Union intervened to support the communist Afghanistan government against Mujahideen insurgents. Guerrilla war. So anyway, the Russians were fighting in Afghan to fight the Democratic, the Afghanis. The US supported the Afghanis. The Russians pulled out. The US went in and said, hey, you guys owe us. They said, no, we don't. They got into a war. And now the Russians are now supporting the Taliban or the Afghanis. And within those decades of happening, multiple generations have come up and gone down. Some of the people are still around. And it's this weird thing, as like I was saying before, with different countries being involved in wars. Why are they involved in these wars? Why does Russia think that it's beneficial to them to go and help in Afghanistan? Why does the US think that? Why does China think that? What is going on with these situations where wars happen in this way? Because it really doesn't make any sense to me. And it's just, and to see the headline of the Russians being full partnership, full supporting of the Afghan Taliban, you just sit there going, is this 1984 where it's literally we were always at war with Oceania, or we were always at war with East Asia? Like, it's just that the media tells what the governments are doing, but they're just changing it up every time, and it's the same shit every time. And it's like, come on, guys, can we just stop it? Can we just stop it? Again, I don't know enough about this, so I would love to know more. Please comment, like and subscribe, but also comment. Tell me What's going on? What are the details of this kind of situation? And I don't mean just in this situation, because it says here that they're building a pragmatic dialogue with the Taliban. So obviously they're like, hey guys, we'll give you some support and we'll treat you good, but you treat us good. That's the way diplomacy works. That's fine. But the idea that they're now friends really confuses me, given that not that long ago they were not friends. And I don't know. It's the same with Donald Trump just went to China and now they're friends and they're going to do business. And you're like, well, wait, you guys are almost at war not that long ago with tariffs and all these other things. And so us plebs down the bottom just have to sit here and take it, apparently, and just have to deal with the fact that these governments are just running shit and going crazy. But anyway, I'm going to go take the dogs for a walk because this was a shambles of a show. As always, please like, subscribe, comment. Let me know. Help me out on some of this stuff. Help me understand. How does the female orgasm work? How does the female orgasm work? How does Russia and China and the US feel about Europe and their little proxy wars and all the other stuff that's going on? And how do we avoid getting involved in any of that stuff if we're just poor little people like me and you sitting at home trying to watch a TV show? Anyway, also, were you disappointed by Carano Rousey like I was? The result was inevitable, but was a bit disappointing. Like, subscribe, comment, whatever. Tune in tomorrow when we will hear a little bit more of jolly Dr. Dollywell.
Dollies nowadays fall asleep whenever they lie down, but some dollies haven't got enough sense to go to bed when they're tired.
It's a very good point. And I will see you tomorrow. Thank you very much. This has been the Daily Freakout for Monday, the 18th of May.